Well, it's a new year, 2017. So I am making a video. Um, I haven't done one in a year, I think. And some of my long-term subscribers have been bugging me to make another video. So here I am. Uh, there are so many things happening, I don't even know where to start. But essentially, I think, and I don't know how long this rant is going to last here. In fact, my power may go off because we're snowed in, and there's so much ice on the power lines outside. I'm sort of expecting the power to go out sometime pretty soon, actually. So, uh, yeah, what to say? I think we are here in the United States and in other Western countries as well. I think we have a frontline seat at this point. Um, at the Basically, we're witnessing the destruction of our democracy, and it's pretty well advanced. And of course, one could argue that we never had one in the first place, but it's becoming essentially evident that um, at least they kept pretending. But no, now they don't even pretend anymore. By they, I mean the global elites. And they're basically, what they intend to do is double down. They recognize that there is a lot of discontent uh, among the population. And I'll get into the whole Davos meeting, which is coming up next week. They had a press release earlier today about what their concerns are and what they were 2007, by the way. Of course, this goes way back. It has this isn't just the financial crash of 2008 that led up to this moment. It's been going on all along, but it's becoming clearer and clearer every day to ordinary citizens that basically we have no voice anymore, and the elites are going to do what they want, and they have accumulated so much power at this point that one can only uh, one can only guess at what their next move is going to be. I mean, at this point, anything could happen. As far as the U.S. election charade goes, I certainly didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary either. I think the whole thing is a charade at this point. And um, Trump is just a symptom of the faulty, and one might call it malicious, decisions that have gone on for decades. I especially want to um, blame neoliberalism on this, an economic push to deregulate everything, to have the free market have a free reign, and to privatize everything, and essentially to capture the government. In other words, make it smaller, but make that smaller government function in the way that it functions for the elites and not for us. That's what government is essentially needed for now, um, especially especially national governments. So we have this whole mess in the EU. I'm not sure if the EU is savable, or whether it's even worth saving. The people in Brussels are um, basically, it's a corporate free for all over there. And so yes, you're having resistance against all that from both the right and the left. And as far as the left is concerned, uh, I'm not sure what the Democratic Party here in the United States is even up to anymore. They have completely sold out. They're corporatists, and people who aren't corporatists in the Democratic Party should be leaving in droves. This is the biggest sellout, and it's been going on for 3 decades. And all this hopey changey thing didn't work. It was, in fact, a betrayal, another betrayal. And I'm afraid with this whole Trump phenomenon now, this is going to be another betrayal. You know, what somebody says on the campaign trail and what they'll actually do are two different things. And Trump he isn't cleaning out the swamp. He's putting in the exact same people, not the exact same people, but he's got his coterie uh, of executives and such that he's bringing into major decision-making positions, which it'll just be a disaster for ordinary people, and people are going to be disappointed again. And if that happens, if that happens time and time again, as you can see, we're slowly turning into essentially a banana republic. That's what we're turning into. And the elites basically don't care. They're pretty much done with the American people anyway. If they can find new markets elsewhere, that's what they're going to do. And they're going to rape and pillage this planet until they're done with it and it burns up. That's basically my assessment of the whole situation. The amount of environmental destruction on a global scale is unimaginable, and it is not even discussed in the mainstream media, and a lot of the alternative media aren't really covering it either to a large degree. And if I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure whether some big event will happen, like, a false flag event, a real terrorist event, um, some, heaven forbid, politicians start getting assassinated. I mean, who knows? Nobody at this point knows what's going to happen, and any major event will then trigger another event. It's sort of like Karl Rove said, well, we're in charge now. And I'm not talking about Rove and the Republicans in particular. I'm just saying, it seems to be, seems to be the playbook. You can watch and you can analyze, meaning we the people, and we can watch us and analyze us. We're just going to create the reality. And as soon as you've analyzed that, we're going to create another reality for you. And then you'll have to react to that, and then we'll move on. That seems to be the global perspective from the elite's point of view. And so they have basically rescued their assets via, putting all the burden on the populations via austerity, via increased taxes for the middle class. The poor have basically been thrown under the bus a long time ago, and that's just going to continue as more people keep slipping into the poorer classes. And, it's just a travesty. This place will turn into basically a third world nation, I'd say maybe 20 years from now, if we've got that long, with all the environmental catastrophes and global warming. And yes, there is global warming. It isn't a hoax. So anybody who thinks it's a hoax, can just get off my channel. So yeah, it's not just it's not a pretense. And the elites are real worried about it. They're not giving you a fake story. They just want to make sure that even during such catastrophes, they're going to profit from all of that. That's their game. And if they have to start geoengineering, which they've probably already done in certain clandestine programs and all of this other stuff, they're going to do it. Whatever makes money. They're now starting to trade. It's now schemes are emerging where investors want to essentially buy up nature. Nature preserves big parcels of land globally, and then have other investors invest in these parcels so that they can be traded on the stock market. So in other words, it's just like the carbon trading scheme. It's the same thing. It hasn't reduced any pollution. Quite the opposite. It's just another scam. So yeah, my outlook for 2017 isn't too rosy. That's all I can tell you. And I can't give you any advice on that. I myself don't know what to do. It's people are so I think what's going to happen in this country is people, they're so glued to their electronic devices all the time. And the elites know very well how to keep us entertained, how to keep people from focusing what is really going on and has been going on for at least the last 30 years. They don't want you to talk about that. They'll keep you busy with all your apps and all your social media. And I mean, I shouldn't be talking this, I'm using social media, but they could care less what we think. I mean, they're talking in their think tanks about all of this all in the open. They don't care. And smaller channels of people who are onto their game, they're just gonna, they're gonna be marginalized like they've always been. And then they're going to have certain witch hunts going after certain people when they get too close to the truth. You know, this has happened in waves throughout history, but I'm afraid that there's going to be a real crackdown at some point coming in the United States. How long that's, how far off that is, I don't know. But and it depends how active the resistance of the population gets. So yeah, I wish I could wish you all a happy new year, but I'm afraid I see nothing rosy on the horizon at all. So um, I'm not, I'm not here to instill fear in people or anything like that. It is what it is. And once you deal with an empire which has gotten completely out of control, and you know, in terms of fake news, the most major news media have been publishing fake news for decades, and more and more people are finally seeing through their lies. And so then, of course, social media, and the intelligence agencies come in and, they manipulate our social media, they surveil everything we do. And so it's easy to manipulate all this. And so I'm starting to get the impression what they really want to do at this point is to either cause total mass disillusionment with politics overall, to where people just throw in the towel and say, you know what, I'm just not gonna listen, pay attention to any of this stuff anymore. And then they'll, of course, get to a real bad point. Um, or they just want to confuse people, on purpose. So uh, I don't, I don't know. Nobody knows how this is going to play out. We don't hear what's, at least in the mainstream media. I mean, you have to really look for it. I mean, it's people in Mexico are close to a revolution. Do we hear about this on our mainstream media? No, we don't hear about it. And our government is busy overthrowing other governments in South America, just like they did during the 80s. That's what's going on in South America. And, the IMF and the World Bank dictates their austerity policies to any country that is even remotely in financial trouble. And now, this whole mess in India going on. And this Modi, Prime Minister Modi, he's part of that elite faction now, which of course, in close cooperation with Silicon Valley, I might add, they came up with this brilliant idea to, number one, get rid of the most usable banknotes in all of India, and they want to encourage electronic transactions by the population, when 80% of the damn population in India doesn't even have a bank account, let alone an electronic device. But no, Mark Zuckerberg is going to come in and give everybody their free little devices. And his scheme is, yeah, everybody over there can be brainwashed too, and collect the fees while they deposit their meager pay over there in one of the poorest countries. So that's their scheme going on in India. It's total chaos over there. And the latest news I got through a German outlet was that they're now going to start confiscating gold in India. So, the lower middle class people in India, gold is a big thing for them. I mean, that's one of the only things that are valuable that they have. But no, the big elites, they're going to be left alone. Whatever is inherited, if you have a whole bunch of inherited gold, no, you can keep that, you know. So yeah, it's basically screw the people, and this is going on a global scale. And well, I was gonna uh, go over this little article here on that I read this morning on from the from the World Economic Forum in Davos. So this is the elites of the elites getting together next week, and it's kind of interesting to see what their concerns. It's called global risks in terms of likelihood. So in let's see here in 2008, it was asset price collapse was the number one concern. The number two concern was Middle East instability and failing states and the oil and gas price spike and chronic diseases in the developed world. That's short term for big pharma trying to sell you more drugs. And then we kind of move on. 2009, their biggest concern was asset price collapse. So, all the rich people are afraid their assets are going to lose value. 2010, the same thing. That was their major concern. And then all of a sudden, in 2011, once all that free money from the Fed started coming in, and, central banks and other nations are doing the same thing. So then all of a sudden, their biggest concern became storms and cyclones and flooding. Okay. And then in 2012, it dawned on them that people don't like what's going on. And their number one concern then was income disparity. Same thing for 2013, income disparity. And now in 2016, they're saying, oh, let's skip to 2017. So these are their major concerns for this coming year here. Extreme weather events. Well, yeah, and a large-scale involuntary immigration. In other words, they plan to keep up the wars in the Middle East to produce more refugees, and which refugee crises, of course, cause internal conflict in other nations where these refugees have to flee to. Major natural disasters is another one. And then, of course, a massive incident of data fraud or theft. I'm kind of thinking they're probably afraid that all the stuff that they've been dealing behind closed doors might reach the light of day. So that's their number five. That's their number five concern for 2017. And then they're saying, the global risks in terms of impact and likely impact, their number one concerns is weapons of mass destruction. So that tells you right there they're going to continue with their wars. And extreme weather events, they're probably going to be right about that. And water crisis, yep, that's already happening. Major natural disasters, yep, it's already happening. But down on the number five concern is they're saying, well, the failure of climate change mitigation and adaptation. Right. So those are the concerns in Davos, and what they plan to do is they plan to actually convince the global populace that globalism is still a great thing. Everybody will benefit, but just a little more maybe has to trickle down. Except governments, national governments have to realize that their fiscal budgets need to be constrained. So that's what they want to do. So I think that that kind of captures it for right now. I don't know what else to say. Say hello in your comments, or pretty soon the internet bots are going to start taking over, and we're going to get automatic comments on our channels by bots which aren't even real people, since AI is kicking in big time now. So yeah, so half the stuff that you read on the internet will all be written by machines. So, and yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Talk to you later.